Juan Manuel Briones was 14 when he started working in the coal mines in this remote stretch of northern Mexico. He toiled underground for nearly 2 decades, only to be laid off a few years ago as Mexico began embracing renewable energy and weaning itself off fossil fuels. Briones worried the future had left him behind. Then, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador took office in late 2018 and started turning back the clock. The president has halted new renewable projects, mocked wind farms as fans that blight the landscape, and poured money into state oil company Petroleos Mexicanos, including $9 billion for construction of a new refinery. Last month, he pushed legislation that requires that the energy grid first take power from state-run plants, fueled in large part by crude oil and coal, before less expensive wind and solar energy. Shortly after the president announced last summer that his government would again start buying coal from Mexico's producers, Briones was called back to work. "We need this to continue," he said on a recent morning, covered in soot and puffing on a cigarette after finishing a shift 300 feet below ground. "Coal is what we live from." López Obrador's devotion to fossil fuels and rejection of cleaner energy at a time when most nations are moving in the opposite direction has dismayed environmentalists, who warn that Mexico will be unable to meet its emission reduction commitments under the Paris Climate Agreement, as well as business leaders, who warn that energy costs will rise because coal and gas cost about twice as much as wind and solar. Experts say his policies are rooted less in climate change denialism and more in nationalism and nostalgia. A populist, López Obrador is playing on Mexico's proud history as a fossil fuel powerhouse. He grew up in the oil-rich Tabasco state in the decades after President Lázaro Cárdenas expropriated the assets of foreign energy companies operating in Mexico and nationalized the country's oil reserves and mineral wealth. For decades, the state-owned oil company, known as Pemex, was a main driver of Mexico's economy. It remained part of national lore even as mismanagement and an aging infrastructure eventually eroded the country's position as a top oil producer. In 2013, then-President Enrique Peña Nieto pushed through a constitutional reform that ended the state monopoly, opening up Mexico's oil and energy sector to private companies. Foreign firms flooded in, and a competitive bidding process drove costs for natural gas and renewable energy to some of the lowest prices globally. López Obrador has accused foreign-owned companies of stealing market share away from Pemex and the state electric company, the Federal Electricity Commission. Viscidi, an energy expert at the U.S.